Okay, sorry, I had a little technical difficulty there. Modem cut out. So we're back. We're kind of moving here. We've been out here at Thacker Pass. This is Peehee Mu'huh, site of a massacre that was on the books that the BLM knew about, had in their records, and said they had overlooked it until the legal case. We came out this morning early. This gentleman, Dean, serving his pipe, 74. And moving more in place here to see about halting some of this construction. Red Road TV, Indigenous Peoples Movement, Dakota Peoples Law Project, Last Real Indians.
Good run.
You can see they're moving. The people came in on the other road, came in the back way and started up their equipment. And so they're moving, trying to start the construction. Oh, you got a rock right there.
You want to take one side and see what it helps?
Yeah, and just push them out.
Okay, yeah, let me try to, what if we tilt you a little bit?
Yeah, that'd probably
It'd be
be.
kind of crazy, but I think it might work.
I'll grab this. There you go. I just got stuck right in.
No, pues no le pega porque no hicimos nada. No, pues ahí los dejan los máquinas, no hay pedo, mientras los deja ahí. Nomás porque yo te quería hacerla y supe que sí la hiciste, si no te mandaba a hacerla. Oh, no, no, está bien.
No, it's good. You guys are
for the people here, the ancestors who were massacred here.
We'll easedrop
People who were
here.
killed in 1865 and previous occasions, and also for people around the world who are affected by this mining. It's not just here, and this is a point that I made on my last live video, but I know some of you, I'm sure, weren't on that last live video. But what happens here is connected to everything all around the world, all these different issues, because this mine will use sulfur that comes from the Alberta tar sands. So we're in solidarity with all the people fighting the Alberta tar sands across that region of Canada. We're in solidarity with the people who are facing destruction and exploitation in the Congo because of cobalt mining that also goes into electric vehicle batteries. We're in solidarity with the people fighting nickel extraction in places like Indonesia, where nickel mining has devastated the land. Because lithium from Thacker Pass might end up in the very same batteries, sandwiched together with nickel from these communities in Indonesia that are facing very similar destruction to what's happening here. Different context, different location, different language, different country, different side of the world, but the story is the same, the struggle is the same. So people are standing here, and people are standing up all over the world. You know, here in the United States, in some ways we're lucky. In some ways we're very lucky that we have a tradition of nonviolent civil disobedience. We have a tradition of people standing up peacefully, and sometimes not so peacefully, but in this case peacefully, for the land, for what they believe in, for the future, and for justice. And in many areas around the world, if you did this kind of thing, you might get shot. You might get hauled off to jail and tortured. You might get killed. You might get indefinite detention. You might get all kinds of terrible things happening to you. I have friends who are environmental activists in the Philippines, one of the most dangerous countries in the world to be an environmentalist. Hundreds of environmentalists there have been killed. Hundreds of people. And that has a chilling effect. And so we need to fight for our rights to protest, to express ourselves, and fight for our rights to change this situation, to change the laws, to change the to change the country we live in all kinds of different ways, to change the world we live in. And if you don't exercise your rights, you lose them. And so that's one reason why we're here too, is to stand up and say, no more, this is not okay. The law may say that Lithium Nevada is allowed to destroy this place. The law says that. But we know that there's a higher law. There's a moral law. There's the ethical law. There's a spiritual law. And it, you know, in that context, in that situation, this is righteous. And, you know, Martin Luther King said that himself often. He talked about when the law is unjust, the right thing to do is to disobey the law. And we're in that tradition right now. We're in that tradition today. And that's a tradition all over the world that people have followed in different ways. And so thank you all for joining us. We're here at Thacker Pass, Peehee Mu'huh. Construction is blocked, at least partially, for today. The prayer continues. We have more workers coming into the site. We have more activity, vehicles coming and going. We know the police have been called. There are several drones up in the air. I don't know who those belong to. We're assuming that journalists and other people are on their way. There's live streams going on. There's videographers here, photographers, and people are standing up. Right over here, I'll point to it. That little dot right there is Sentinel Rock, also known as Nipple Rock. And right below that is where we believe the Thacker Pass massacre began on September 12, 1865. It began right at dawn, right about the same time that we showed up this morning. And it happened when a group of soldiers with the U.S. Army, the cavalry, attacked a camp of Northern Paiute men, women, children, elders, and killed at least 31 of them, perhaps as many as 50 or more. And there are many accounts of this massacre that talk about the people running. You don't stand still when you're being shot at. You don't stand still when you're in fear for your life. You run. And The BLM, the government, the lithium company has argued that this is not significant, that this is not important because it happened slightly outside of BLM land on private property. It may have began there. We don't know. There's only one source that talks about an approximate location where it might have begun, and that source is from 1868. This was not a GPS, global positioning system, modern survey that pinpoints an exact location. This was one man with literal chains, using chains to measure the land distances out here saying, this is what I saw, writing in cursive and handwriting on an old school notebook that's preserved in the BLM record saying this massacre took place here. What we do know from the accounts, the newspaper accounts of that massacre,
so I'm going to walk back towards what he called Sentinel Rock. We were here a month and a half, 2 months ago. Something like that. None of these roads were here. None of this piping was here. These huge pipes are for passing the water. Nevada is the driest state in the United States, and they'll be pulling out millions of gallons a day to process lithium. The Biden administration is pushing their green, some of the finest work done towards dealing with environment and the climate change. But what's not told to us about the green cars, we're going to drive green cars, is that none of the technologies that process this, as you heard Max was talking about down in South America, the nickel that's needed in tandem with the lithium, the sulfur that's brought down from the Alberta tar sands. They're going to burn the lithium out with sulfuric acid they will process here, taking the water out of this aquifer, the Great Basin, where Las Vegas is looking for water, where all of these cities are looking for water. The Colorado is drying up. They're trying to get water from the Missouri, where the DAPL is. There's so much technology that is unchecked, with these companies now talking about how they're green and they're going to be doing the green work, and they're getting General Motors put $650 million that they got from the Biden administration directly into this mine. Yet the industries, the extraction industries, the fossil fuel companies, the same companies that extract, the technology and the way that they extract and the water they use is unchecked. It's the process that will be processing the lithium. One logic is that fossil fuels could be better. They use less than the lithium. Imagine the amount of water that's going to be traveling down these pipes. Millions of gallons a day coming out of the aquifer, the same aquifer that Las Vegas needs, that Reno needs, that Winnemucca needs. Will travel through these pipes. To help extract lithium. The amount of diesel fuel that will be processed in a 40-story deep mine that will be miles across. And you can see in the distance as I walk towards this, They talked about the Sentinel Rock, where a couple of months ago we came out and they held ceremony and dance, and they talked about the meaning of this place. The massacre that's here still lies here. The remains were never reclaimed, yet they're bulldozing roads. As you can see in the distance, I'll kind of zoom in here and we'll go to Sentinel Rock. That road was not there a month ago. This hollowed ground. Where underneath it lies the water. And I'm going to ask this gentleman here. Okay. I caught up to you again. It's live, and I got Sentinel Rock there in the background. Tell me about we started to talk earlier about the legal case and the BLM and what you kind of uncovered through papers that came through in litigation. Tell me a little bit about the case.
Yeah.
And introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name's Will Falk. I'm an attorney and I represent the Reno Sparks Indian Colony and Summit Lake Paiute Tribe in litigation against the Bureau of Land Management for permitting the Thacker Pass lithium mine. The Thacker Pass is, in legal terms, what they call a traditional cultural district. There are a number of elements that make this land here sacred, a number of sites here that make this land sacred. Back here along the Double H Mountains, there's a bunch of obsidian procurement district, ancient obsidian mines here. There are caves and hills up here in the Montana mountains where Paiute people hid from federal soldiers in the era of soldiers rounding up native people to put them on reservations. There are a lot of traditional food gathering places here. There are ancient campgrounds that they found remains of here. But this is also the site of two massacres. One of those massacres is how Thacker Pass got its Paiute name, Peehee Mu'huh, which it means rotten moon in Paiute. And oral history tells a story of Paiutes having a camp or a village here. The hunters went away to hunt in a valley over. They came back and found their relatives massacred with their guts split open and their intestines strung along the sage. It was a rotten smell. Thacker Pass is kind of shaped like a crescent moon, so they call this rotten moon. But then maybe another really interesting massacre happened on September 12th, 1865. The 1st Nevada Cavalry massacred at least 31 Paiute people here in Thacker Pass. But what's so interesting about it is the Bureau of Land Management possessed records of that massacre in its own General Land Office records, but failed to disclose those documents in public-facing documents like the environmental impact statement, the record of decision. None of those documents mention these records that BLM had of the massacre. And therefore none of the cultural resources work or the National Environmental Policy Act process discusses the sacredness or even the fact that there's a massacre here. BLM did eventually acknowledge all of Thacker Pass as a traditional cultural district, and including the massacre sites at the end of February of this year, so just a few weeks ago. But despite acknowledging that, they refused to delay construction to consult with the tribes about how to handle these massacre sites. Federal law does not stop projects like this for a massacre site. They are allowed to destroy massacre sites, but they have to consult about that. And one of the big things going on here is in 1865 there was genocide here. In 2023, when we have native elders out here praying on a massacre site, on a place where they're about to destroy. This is genocide in 2023.
Okay. How they had it in their records?
Yeah, so it's the records were in what are called the General Land Office records, which as the United States was forming and started to expand across the continent, they formed this General Land Office to send surveyors out to actually, document what land is here for the government. And in 1868, a deputy surveyor came out here and found the remains of that 1865 massacre, and wrote, this is where the 1st Nevada Cavalry, I think his term was, attacked and whipped a body of Indians in this area. One of the first things that BLM is supposed to do when they're assessing cultural resources is check their own General Land Office records. So either they checked them and found those records and hoped nobody else would find them, or they just never checked their records like they're supposed to and didn't find them. Either way is illegal, and either way they're supposed to once those records come to light, they're supposed to afford an extensive consultation process with people who descend from those massacred, from regional tribes who descend from that massacre, and they never did that. So they don't know how this project, they've never sat down and listened to the tribes describe for them how this project is going to affect the massacre site and affect living communities today who descend from that site. Maybe one of the reasons why they never found those records is that they fast-tracked this project. Under a Trump-era secretarial order, the local BLM Humboldt River Field Office was ordered to conduct the whole permitting process for this mine in less than a year. That's absolutely warp speed. Projects like this usually take 3.5 to 4 years to process. And, this is going to become more and more pertinent right now. We have the government talking about fast tracking more green energy projects, deregulation. It's, we're so used to the Republicans calling for deregulation. Well, now it's the Democrats calling for deregulation. They want to deregulate green energy projects so that they can get these things in faster. But when that happens, government agencies cut corners, they cut people out of consultation, and they do that so that they can meet their deadlines. So, if that's what this country is going to turn to do, then all of us need to understand that there's going to be many, many more sacred sites destroyed, more native culture destroyed, and of course, more of the land, more water, more air destroyed. And no matter how strong your environmental laws are, if you're fast-tracking projects and you're forcing the regulatory agencies like BLM to go faster, then they're going to make more and more mistakes. And when they make more and more mistakes, again, places are destroyed, and the health of the land is destroyed, and then ultimately people are going to be destroyed. So that's something that I hope everyone's paying attention to. I don't believe that electric cars are the solution to climate change, but if you're someone that thinks they are, you have to understand that there's so much destruction that goes into those electric vehicles, and deregulating the same mining corporations that have always been responsible for destroying the planet just because they say that their technologies are green is a really, really bad and probably suicidal idea at this late stage of global capitalism and ecological collapse.
Do you have an idea? I know Max has said, but what other technologies go into the lithium that make it such a dangerous proposition with people where they just say we're going to drive ourselves in green cars into the future? What goes into it?
Well, we have to remember when we're talking about lithium specifically, lithium is one tiny ingredient in an electric car battery. So before I go on, this is only one aspect of the destruction that goes into an electric car battery, not to mention the whole manufacture of an electric car. But when we're talking about lithium, especially at a place like here at Thacker Pass, they're going to use a novel leaching process. What they're going to do is they're going to dig up the earth from an open pit, and they're going to leach the lithium out of the earth with sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid is not a good substance to have rolling through these places. They have to bring the sulfuric acid on heated trucks. Sulfuric acid has to maintain I think it's like 270 degrees or something, a high temperature to stay liquid. So they have these specialized trucks that have to take them in. Of course, those trucks are diesel trucks, right? So when we're talking about reducing greenhouse gas emissions, you can have these diesel trucks running all day with sulfuric acid. And sulfuric acid, a lot of people don't know this, but the main producers of sulfuric acid are oil refineries. Sulfuric acid is a byproduct of oil refining. And so if a main premise of this so-called transition to green energy is that fossil fuels are going to be replaced by things like lithium and electric car batteries, it's going to be really hard to replace those technologies when you depend upon them for your electric car battery. This project itself is going to burn 10,600 gallons of diesel on site every single day. It's going to produce over 150,000 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions every single year. So this is a project that's absolutely drenched in fossil fuels from start to finish. And that's just to extract the lithium for one part of the electric car battery. We have to remember that all kinds of other rare earth minerals go into electric car battery. We have to remember that things like steel manufacturing go into electric car production. And all of these processes are destroying places like Thacker Pass just to bring people their electric cars. I think one of the things that really drives this home for me is, cobalt is a rare earth mineral that goes into electric car batteries. People are starting to understand this more, but cobalt is primarily coming from the Democratic Republic of Congo right now. And those mines are primarily worked by child labor. 30 and 40,000 children a year are working in these mines in the Democratic Republic of Congo, getting sick and dying. So when you're really enthusiastic about your electric car and your electric car battery, I hope you see the face of a Congan child who is bringing you your electric car battery. But if you don't care about Africa, which I really hope you do, you think about the United States. The same steel manufacturing and coal production that is required for that steel manufacturing that is destroying places like Appalachia will still be ongoing to bring your electric car. You'll still have to further destroy places like Appalachia for an electric car. Or talk about the plastic manufacturing that goes on in the Mississippi River Delta. We all know that Louisiana is called Cancer Alley. Well, electric car manufacturing is going to contribute to Cancer Alley. So we really need to see this as a broader, there's materials coming from all over the earth. So many places have to be destroyed just to bring an electric car. And if destroying more of the earth is somehow your solution to not destroying the earth, then I think you might need to sit down and think about your logic and common sense. And just really understand how much destruction goes into these kinds of technologies.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And this is, as I was saying earlier, we can see this road. Oh, it just hurts to look at it. This road wasn't here a month ago. And it stretches, and this is for water. This is a line that they will probably then, they cleared initially with huge chains, like from, what kind of chains are they?
They are Navy battleship anchor chains.
Okay, so Navy battleship anchor chains. They drag them and clear this path, and you can see. I think if we go down this way, you can see there's just like the pipes that I just showed earlier. They have their pipes laid, and this is where the millions of gallons of water per day. Millions of gallons of water per day. And what's the solution? Well, we're not sure what the solution is, but nobody's really talking about it. They're just pretending that these companies that produce this green technology are going green, when, as Will was just saying, the cobalt, the nickel that comes from South America, it all goes in. So people need to understand what it is. And it's not like we stopped driving cars. I heard one of the security gentlemen today was going, well, you have a cell phone and everybody uses batteries. Well, it's true. The answer is to stop consuming so much. The answer is that the stock market doesn't need to grow based on extraction. We have to find ways to grow based on compassion and protecting water and protecting land. I think everybody's getting the hint that we really do have to change what it means to be alive in this world and what we feel we have a right to have. It's an amazing place we've gotten into with the American dream that countries all over the world want, because we spent generations extracting from all over the world, and now it's coming home. And it feels like there's no way out. It really does feel like we have no way out but to collide into the wall that is climate change. But maybe we can think different. Maybe we can change what it takes to be happy. Or maybe we can't. Maybe we can blame it on Biden. Maybe we can blame it on Deb Haaland. Maybe we can blame it on everybody else. Maybe the aliens will come and fix it all, because we don't seem to have the technology. There's this generator that runs 24/7. It is so peaceful out here. There's this generator that runs forever. Keep this little house. This little security house going. So what's going on down here is we started early. Dean, they were right here, just kind of by the end of these barriers in the middle of the road. And the workers came and then came down this road to start up their diesel cat and their bulldozer. We're fixing this road right here. I assume it looks like the pipeline that comes from way over there, comes down this way. It's going to run along here, and then it looks like it's going to cut across right here. So they must have their well that they're going to drill, or 2 or 3 or however many they're going to use to extract $1 million. $1 million gallons a day of water. Do the research of what cities use, and the cities that are running out of water. The Colorado River. $1 million gallons a day with thousands of gallons of diesel. That's a lot of water. So they moved down here. They started up this cat. And so they moved down to block this cat from working today. The police have been called. We don't know if the police are going to show up. It may be they're like, we'll outlast them. It's kind of like Standing Rock. We'll outlast them. Of course, they had to bring in state and federal and local police, working through SIC centers, coordinating with FBI and what used to be COINTELPRO, who knows what they call it today. The amount of resources and money they put into destroying the Standing Rock movement, to destroying the communities with infiltrators. Well, there's no infiltrators here today.
What was your name again? Tokata? Can you do me a favor? My son over there, can you have him bring the shell and the sage?
Yes.
So we can smudge over there?
How'd your other film
Thank
show
you.
come out? The one we filmed in Reno?
It'll go with this.
Oh,
It will.
sorry.
So do you want to tell me a little bit about what you're doing?
Oh, I'm sitting here waiting for some action. No, I just say I'm here to defend Mother Earth here. My great-great-great-grandfather, Sam, is one of the Paiutes that escaped the soldiers that came and massacred. So, a lot of my ancestors, have, they're out here. Their spirits are out here. They're watching us. They're guiding us. And this is something that I've always wanted to do. I said, no matter what, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to protect that land for everything that I have. And I'm very thankful to have my Uncle Dean here, standing with me in prayer. And I want to thank everybody for watching and to continue to keep praying, helping us stay in prayer. Mother Earth, what they're digging for here, those are her jewels. They're her jewels. Any kind of miners mining for whatever, gold, silver, copper, or whatever, those belong to Mother Earth. Those are her jewels. And they don't belong to me, and they don't belong to you or anybody else. They belong to Mother Earth. And I just want to say that much. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And can I ask you about you've had are you from here, Fort McDermott?
Yeah.
There was a mine back in the 80s, Mercury. What did that do? What happened with that Mercury mine?
It was shut down, and when it shut down, it contaminated our water in the town of McDermott, and I believe that there's a little bit of contamination on the reservation as well. I know there is contamination because the ground, the dirt there at the mine, it was like reddish colored. So they brought some of that dirt onto the reservation, onto the roads and things there. And the other thing they did too was some of the menfolk, they went out there when the mine shut down and they took some of the boards off of the mine there and they built sheds and things with that. And there was quite a bit of miners that worked out there. One of the last guys that passed away, a worker that was there was my oldest son's father. He passed away like 3 months ago. I've lost 3 uncles. They passed away from cancer, from working out there, and there are other people that have had cancer and passed away because of the contaminations from out there. And, you know, we want to prevent that from happening here as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you light it?
And one.
So she was talking about there was a mercury mine, and we went in and filmed the Red Mountain at Fort McDermott. Then they found out that their water was being polluted, and the EPA lined down. And here we are again, not more than, I don't know, 10, 20 miles away, going after the water. Now what's the oops going to be from the EPA this time? Oops, we're sorry. We dried up your water. We got sulfuric acid in your water. We covered the air and ran diesel trucks and set up man camps, and everybody gets employment, but nobody gets the point. How to build an economy on extraction. God bless the lawmakers in hopes that they will figure out a path into the future that doesn't destroy the water. And God bless the people when we figure out we don't need all the things we think we need. Maybe we can do with a little less and be a little more happy. Maybe not. Live streaming. What are you thinking?
I'm just kind of walking around in a state of heartbreak. This is my third time here. I spent, I think, 3 days here the previous time when it was just ice cold. And I'm just shocked to hear that they've already cleared potentially thousands of acres of old growth sage. But
what's your name?
I'm Paul.
Oh, Paul.
Hi. You know, it's just the whole planet is a sacrifice zone, basically, at this point.
It's hard to think about what's a way out. You know, when you think about, I know you were talking with I think I overheard a little bit of the rap of like, oh, you got a cell phone that needs lithium.
Yeah, we all have lithium batteries,
lithium.
so
this is
screw you shouldn't be here. Yeah.
We need to be happier with less. Seems to be the only way out.
Well, and it's so hard to even conceptualize going backwards. You know, I mean, people immediately go to, well, we can't live in caves. It's like, yeah, but we could be living very simply. And I look at the way that we're wasting just everything. Like there's no consciousness in our use of the raw materials of Mother Earth. It's just, it blows my mind.
I was listening yesterday. It's just the new election for Biden and McClain, I guess his chief of staff, ex-chief of staff, was on MSNBC, and it's like we need to grow in the stock market, and it needs to
more
build economy, and it's just Meanwhile, you know, Deb Holland's out touting the whole green thing and stuff, and just, they're not coming up here.
No, and AOC just relaunched the Green New Deal. You know? More wealth, more economic growth. When I was in college in the late 70s, I was studying steady state economics or zero growth economics. And I haven't even heard an environmental organization mention that phrase in decades. And for us to get to the required 90% economic shrinkage that we need for any chance to save life on this planet, first we need to get to zero. We have to stop growing. Step one, stop. The opposite is happening.
That was good.
We're in a remarkable moment on planet Earth.
By the fact that you're not going to move, that is the case. Thank you.
So he was filming up, forgot his keys. So they're doing a little count. Looked to me like it was counting. Oh. He's dressed up like a worker now. He was in his civvies. They didn't look like workers. They didn't have their vests on and their hard hats. There's a nice drone. There's a pretty good drone up here. Now we're coming. Here we go. Oh, that's right. It's flying low. He likes your hat. Okay, so we're following these. These two gentlemen asked if they could get to work. They parked their trucks right there. Asked the people if they could get through. He got no answer. He said he assumes that's a no, that they're not going to move. I would imagine at a certain point they're either going to let this play out and not bring law enforcement because they don't want to create a scene and start what will basically be the first opposition. There has been years of fighting this in the courts, the BLM covering up and not filing proper EIS. This mine was given the go-ahead by the Trump administration within the last 4 days of Trump's administration. He signed off on this. They ramrodded through the EIS in 1 year. During COVID, they sent letters and said, oh, you didn't get our letter. While post offices were closed, notices did not get to tribes, and Trump signed it. This is a Trump mine that Biden is now putting the recovery dollars, and mentioned earlier, General Motors got, I think, the car manufacturers, I might be wrong, but got about $1 billion. And General Motors put $650 million specifically into this mine. So my guess is this is a little more higher ups in the mine trying to come to work, and something might happen. Okay, Michonne. I'm coming your way.
Okay.
We're live streaming.
Okay.
It's happening.
Morning. Good morning. Let's go over here so I could talk about everybody. So you live streaming?
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. It's a good morning. It's an emotional morning. We've been here early. I know I'm not going to repeat what everybody else said, but I do want to say to my my brothers and sisters, my people across Indian country and across the world, all the indigenous people. I'm Paiute and Shoshone. My mother's people are from Timbisha, Death Valley, and my Paiute people are from Kuiui, Takata, Pyramid Lake Paiute tribes. And it's been a long battle. Our Indian people, I always remember all my life. I always say all my life. That's all we've been doing is campaigning or talking out against what is wrong, and this is wrong. Destroying sacred places, and when we say sacred places, that's really important because I know there's a lot of people out there say, oh, Indians say everything is sacred, but everything is sacred. But, however, places like this, Peehee Mu'huh, Thacker Pass, our ancestors lived and loved and died here. And during that time, and a lot of you know this, our people prayed all day long. So when they woke up, they greeted the sun like we did this morning, and they prayed. And then when they went to the water, they prayed. When they washed up or to get a drink of water or to get the water for that morning, they prayed. When they went to eat, they prayed. When they went to pick the berries and the grass seeds and the wild onions, they prayed. When they were making baskets, they prayed. When our folks were making their tools, they prayed. And they prayed when they hunted. They prayed when they killed the animal for food. And then they prayed. That was prayer all day long until the nighttime. And so that's sacred. That's true spirituality. And today archaeologists can't measure that. They can't measure our language, and they can't measure our spirituality. And archaeology has become a business, and that's what this is. So last June, an archaeological firm came out here and excavated thousands and thousands of our ancestors' cultural items, and now all those thousands of cultural items are probably at their lab, and they're going through them, and they're studying them, and they're measuring them, and they're writing opinions about who we are as Indian people. And they don't understand that they can, maybe they can measure those cultural items, and maybe they can write a book or write an essay about them or go on speaking engagements and write about that, but they're forgetting the main part. They're forgetting the spirituality and the prayers and the language that was put in those items. But they are disconnected from that because they're disconnected because of their science. So they can't, all those archaeologists that were out here excavating, they don't speak the language, so they can't say whose items they are. That's part of colonization. I bring that up is because you heard earlier Will talk about the traditional cultural place, traditional cultural property, or traditional cultural district. That's what this place is. I want to go back a little bit from 1864 to 1868. There was a war on Paiute and Shoshone Great Basin people. Hundreds of massacres took place right after the Civil War. So people were coming out of gun-toting, and Nevada and California were asking volunteers to come here to fight Indians. And of course, you have a bunch of racist Civil War war, after the they're already bloodthirsty, have guns, and they want to continue on and fight, and so they come here to volunteer. So the cavalry was attacking, and as you've been aware, there was a September 12th, 1865 massacre. I'm not going to go into that because I did hear the gentleman before me talk about that. I do want to talk about all the massacres that occurred to get rid of our people. After those massacres occurred, while those massacres were occurring, you think about it, 1868, 1869, 1869, 1870, that's when they're starting to Congress is starting to look at the 1872 General Mining Law, which is in still effect today, an outdated 1872 mining law. Our ancestors didn't have input to that mining law. Our ancestors were fighting, were trying to protect themselves, and when the miners were coming over this way and immigrants were passing through Nevada, they didn't want to stay in Nevada. They look and people probably look at this and say, oh, that's nothing. It's okay if they mine there. This is something. There's food and water and all kinds of things here. But that's what was happening in Nevada during this time of all the massacres between 1864 and 1868. You think about 1869 and 1870 to 1872 is when Congress is creating that 1872 General Mining Law, which is a fiasco. And every time somebody tries to change that law or even have hearings about it today in 2023, those hearings get stopped. So I'm going to go back again. So after those massacres in 1864 to 1868 and 1865, when the massacre happened here, as Indian people, if you're seeing this, you know how important and how sad death is. But we also know that we have ceremonies for our dead that go on. We do proper burials in the way we've been taught, and our people, when they were massacred here, I know that the cavalry, after the massacres, the cavalry posted their men here, and when our people tried to come back to reclaim their dead, to rebury them and maybe sing those songs for them and put them away traditionally, they were shot on sight too, because the cavalry and the government knew that how important death was to our people, and that the living would come back and try to retrieve the dead. That didn't happen here. That didn't happen in a lot of places, and all we were asking was acknowledge that massacre, and that massacre in 1865 is part of the National Historic Preservation Act. So why is it that the government doesn't get to follow the National Historic Preservation Act? The National Historic Preservation Act is to assess historic properties. They did not assess the historic properties at this place. They went against their own law, the NHPA, and that's wrong. And so through all the environmental impact statement regarding the National Environmental Policy Act, that was one of the guiding laws that permitted this project, the National Historic Preservation Act, the Record of Decision, the Cultural Resource Inventory, the Historic Properties Treatment Plan, none of those mention that massacre, and that is absolutely inappropriate, and it's wrong. So are you trying to hide and sweep that massacre under the rug? That's absolutely inappropriate. So going back again, between 1864 and 1868, when all the massacres were taking place and our ancestors fighting back, after the people that survived those massacres, a lot of them hid in these hills and these mountains all over the Great Basin, not just here. And when they were hiding, the cavalry started to round them up, and they would march them, with bayonets and guns to their heads. They marched our people to Fort Bidwell, California, over here to Fort McDermott, Nevada, and also to Fort Churchill over there between Yerington, Nevada, and Fernley. In that area is Fort Churchill. And our people were getting marched around. Then they marched our people up to Oregon, to the Malheur Refuge area. And after the big other wars started to take place, then They marched our people January 1875 up to Fort Simcoe by Yakima. That's why we have our Paiute relatives up there too. And terrible things happened along that way. People dying, old people dying. They had to march. And can you imagine in 1872, 1875 in January from Oregon to Washington, going through passes and hills? There was knee deep, if not waist deep snow, and so that's the suffering of our people. And other people, maybe non-natives go, oh, you Indians have to get over it. No, we carry that trauma with us. That wasn't long ago, and so our people, we've suffered a lot, and that's not taught. How many of you heard about this 1865 massacre, or that there was a war to annihilate and massacre Paiute and Shoshone people and people in the Great Basin between 1864 and 1868? And how many people know that we had a trail of tears from Oregon to Fort Simcoe, and we still have Paiute our relatives up there? And people will say, why are you guys over there? Maybe you live in Reno, and why are you over there in Thacker Pass? Well, you know what? In traditional society, we had bands and people all over the area, and we had our Paiute bands named after foods, eating. And so we had the Toi Takata, which is now the Fallon Paiute Shoshone tribe. We have the Kuiui Takata, which is now currently the Pyramid Lake Paiute tribe. We have the Agai Takata. So we have all these eating food of who our bands were. And our bands, they were family related, but they interacted all over the state of Nevada. We also had our Western Shoshone bands. And right over here is the Dosowihi, the White Knife. And then we also had our Southern Paiute. And then we had our Washoe in Lake Tahoe. And then we had, you can't just forget about our relatives, because we didn't have boundaries, fences, and lines like maps do today. I just recognize the people in the Nevada state, but we can't forget our Burns Paiute tribe people, our people that are over in Klamath Falls area, and Fort Bidwell and Cedarville, and our Benton Paiute people, and our Bishop Paiute Shoshone people, and our Lone Pine people, and our people down in Death Valley. We're all related all the way that goes up into Utah, the Ute people. We're having the Shoshone and Numic language reunion in Fort Duchesne this year. We're all Uto-Aztecan speaking people. We're all related. And after these massacres, they decided, let's let's make the governments legitimate. And they started to individualize us and said, okay, now you're this tribe and you're this tribe, and separated us out, and now you're sovereign nations. And now we do that to ourselves. What are you doing over there? How come you guys? Oh, well, leave it up to that tribe to fight that. No, we're relatives. That is what the government's done to us, is separated us and individualized us. And we do that to each other. Oh, that's their problem over there. We need to come back together like we were, like we always have been traditionally. There's 40 other lithium mines coming.
The police, I just got word police are on their way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And that we need to start to come back together. There's 40 lithium mines planned for the state of Nevada, 18,000 lithium claims right now. And all for electric vehicles. You hear our people saying here, you can't mine your way out of a climate justice. Electric vehicles aren't going to save us. So why do we destroy sacred, beautiful places for electric vehicles? Not too long ago, maybe about a year ago, I can't recall, Governor Newsom out of California said, hey, by 2030, we need to be going electric vehicles all the way, everybody in California. And then a month later, he's like, don't plug in your electric vehicles. You can't hook up to the grid. The grid, you're not really saving the earth by driving an electric vehicle. The grid, you still have to plug in. Part of that plugging in to the grid is electricity. Where does that electricity come from? And so you have to understand that this is not the way. And why should I have the solution? President Biden just passed in August the the 2022 Inflation Reduction Act, and that was giving grants and loans and funding to corporations and organizations that's going to go to solar or green, the so-called green energy. So billions of dollars are being sent to billionaires. Why send billions of dollars to mining companies? Why send billions of dollars to billionaires? How fair is that? I don't have the solution, but maybe one of them was that you can send billions of dollars to our local regional transportation commission so that you could teach our people how to ride the buses and slow down on the vehicles. It's been a problem. We have a problem here in America, and Nevada is now the new sacrifice zone. So I'm just saying, Paiute and Shoshone people, we're all related. We're all related, and it's time to stand together and understand that the 1872 mining law needs to be changed. And also these laws, these national laws that have been set up, National Environmental Policy Act, National Historic Preservation Act, they can just squirt them or bypass them and not even pay attention to what's really happening. We've been calling out and asking Biden. President Biden's been asking his agencies, revamp your consultation policies, talk with the tribes. Well, Biden, you're at the level of as these 28 chairmans and bands in the state of Nevada. Why don't you come over here and do some true consultation? And Deb Haaland, why don't you come walk this Thacker Pass? And everybody else, there's the Lithium Nevada Corporation calls this massacre the alleged sacred areas in all their legal documents. This happened here. Nobody's lying. It took place. We have the documents and the oral histories, and it's time to stop sweeping the massacres under the carpet and start to understand that this is destruction. This is not green energy annihilating a whole mountainside and annihilating sacred burial sites. And for non-natives out there, when you think of burials, it doesn't say cemetery and that there's a grave right here and we put a cross on it. It means they're scattered all over here, our relatives, and what that means is now if their bones are disintegrated, like the gentleman before was saying, 3 years after the massacre, a surveyor wrote down, hey, this is where that Captain Payne whipped a bunch of whipped Indians, and I see there's skulls and bones still laying around here. That's in the surveyor's notes. And so if those bones aren't laying here anymore, then they're a part of the earth. The animals, they're a part of the sagebrush. They're a part of all this land that we're standing on, and you have to recognize that. I don't know if we talked about a little bit of the former National Park Service superintendent wrote a letter to BLM Winnemucca and said, hey, the Thacker Pass has a lot of similarities to the Sand Creek massacre. The soldiers camped over that way before they attacked here at Peehee Mu'huh, and the same thing happened at Sand Creek. The cavalry camped the night before and attacked on both sides of the villages, burned the cache foods, all the foods that were in, and burned the food, destroyed the food, and then attacked. And the battle went on for miles and for a long time. Now, we know that the Sand Creek massacre, there was a lot of more people, and we feel for our people, our relatives that sacrificed, and the relatives that live today, their descendants. We've all carried this. We all carry these terrible massacres that happened, and it's time to show the public and to show America that America, you were built on murder, rape, and theft. and lies and deceit and slavery, and that seems to not change. So what's happening here? Come on, everybody, wake up. And so, you know, I talked a lot because it's all in my head and it's just circling around, but it felt really good this morning. It's really calm here. It sounds like the sheriffs have been called, and you know, we're here in prayer. We're here as Paiute and Shoshone people and our assistants and our allies, Protect Thacker Pass, to be here in solidarity, to feel good and to pray, and that's what we're doing. That's what's been happening. The sun opened up, and you know, I want to talk about 2 days ago we came up here. It was raining and hailing. Yesterday it was really windy, and it just cleaned it all up for us, and here we are to start afresh. We just want to show you that you know what, if you are going to put in 40 mines, lithium mines, or you think you're going to plan lithium mines over here in the state of Nevada in our sacred homelands, it's not just Native people's homelands. You non-natives that live in Nevada, these are your homelands too. These are your traditional cultural properties as well. And so just don't say it's just not for Indians, because what do you think in 50 years? Where's that water going to come from? What's that lithium mine going to look like in 50 years, 60 years? That's important to note. It's just not Native people's traditional cultural properties. It's non-Natives' traditional cultural properties. If you're going to put in 40 mines, lithium mines in the state of Nevada, and you're going to put this one in, and this Thacker Pass mine is supposed to be the biggest mine in the country, possibly the world, then do it right. Don't do it in lies. Don't do it with your fake government-to-government consultation. Don't send one letter to just a few tribes when there's 28 tribes. You know, these mining companies, they are taking advantage of our poverty over here. There's 28 tribes, and you know, I want to quote a great chairman, and he has said that since 1872, since the 1872 Mining Act, all the mining companies and their shareholders, they've taken out trillions of dollars since that time, and all the 28 tribes are destitute and poor in the state of Nevada. Nobody gets per capita. No, we're not rich tribes. We don't have casinos. We don't have big economic development. We're just living our life, and this is our land. It may look like a dry desert to you, and it may look like a dry sagebrush to you, but these are homelands. We just ate some wild onions and some bitter root last night in these areas, so we're just asking you guys just to be supportive, and to recognize electric vehicles aren't going to save the earth. There's other things to be done, and we need to take a look at that. Take a look at the South. When you go to your water, any one of you guys, you go to your water this morning or this evening, or take a drink, talk to that water. Our bodies are made of water. That water's important. It's sacred, and it's important to us, and that's our livelihood. Oh.
Thank you, Michonne. Michonne always has wonderful words. Yes, moving words.
Okay. So the police are coming. They moved the banner here, and they've left the two people in prayer down there on the road. So they're now, looks like they're kind of blocking. Looks like a double block. Do a little zoom in here. So they have called the police. That gentleman, when he came through with his briefcase and then realized he hadn't put on his hard hat and his vest, my guess is he's not out here every day. We heard a couple workers up there on the bulldozers. Ellos estaban hablando en español, solamente español. No inglés. The drivers of the cats. So this is really the first action here at Peehee Mu'huh. There have been legal challenges. There have been ceremonies held out at the Rock. There have been meetings. There have been meetings of tribes. It just seems to be an almost impossible tide to turn. And I think we all can look at the just the contradictions that we live in to be happy. I wish we could be happy easier. I drove 2 days to get here, to come to this event. Working with Last Real Indians, Lakota People's Law Project, Indigenous Peoples Movement, Red Road TV. Came over here because it's important. It's important to understand that the insanity that we talk about climate change, we talk about change, but the extraction continues. Unchecked. And now stamped in green. Stamped in green energy. So the police are coming. I'm going to leave on a shot of the pipes here. We'll stop this stream, and when the sheriff gets here, we'll pick it back up. Silk stick. What do we got here? Spray on gasket lubricant. So, we're going to end the stream. Thank you all. Share it out. We'll be back.